Thank you for tuning in to Ungentrified with Kent Johnson. Ungentrified takes an unfiltered view on pop culture, music, television and film, politics, current events, and topics central to the worldwide Black community. Ungentrified is a safe audio space for celebrating Black culture in its purest form. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Ungentrified. This is your host, Kent Johnson. I have an incredibly dope guest with me today, and we'll introduce him shortly. But before we get into that, there are some things we need to talk about. So are you ready to talk about some current events that's going on in the news?
Definitely. Let's make it happen.
All right. So Spotify has been in the news lately for a decision they have made in regards to which artists will and won't be on available for streaming. And they've come out with this new policy. And two of the people impacted initially by this policy are R. Kelly, and you told me his name. Was it XXX Tentacion?
XXX Tentacion, something like that. I mean, I never understood his name, but more power to him.
Right. So Spotify has come out and made an announcement saying that they will no longer include R. Kelly and Triple X Temptations in playlists that they curate. They won't make them available for other people's playlists. The music will still be available on the platform. It just won't be actively promoted in any way.
Gotcha.
And I think people were missing out on that part too. The music will still be there, but it won't be actively pushed like other artists will. And their reasoning behind this is based in values. And to quote them exactly, they have created this hateful conduct policy, and their reasoning is when they look at a promotion, they look at issues around hateful conduct and where they have an artist or another creator who's done something off platform that is so particularly out of line with the core values of the company, and they don't want to associate themselves with that, they will apply this policy towards them. Now, R. Kelly has come out in response to this and said that it was ridiculous. I don't really care what he thinks about it. But what was interesting was our homie XXX Tantalizer. He tweeted, well, his team tweeted that, I don't have a comment, just a question. And he posed the question, will Spotify remove all artists from playlists that have been associated or accused of a crime? And he went on to list upwards of, I think, almost 20 artists, everywhere from the Backstreet Boys, from Nick Carter, to Seal, to James Brown, to Michael Jackson, who have either been accused of or charged with sexual misconduct, sexual battery, even down to Ace of Base, who he brought up, and a lot of people don't know this, that one of their founding members was a neo-Nazi. So if you're going to apply it to me, why are you not applying this to everybody else? What's your take on that?
Yeah, you're writing a fine line based on what's appropriate for their personal life versus what is acceptable within their career. As artists, the general public wants a piece of every aspect of your life, from your personal to your social to your romantic, even to the extent they want to know your net worth from a financial standpoint. And it sets a tricky precedent, because if you are now going to assess what goes on in an artist's personal life, especially if they haven't been convicted of these crimes as of yet, it's like you're making them guilty prior to them even given the opportunity to defend themselves. And so the management team for XXX, what he listed, I completely stand behind. I'm not an advocate of obviously sexual misconduct or abuse on any regard, but don't make him the example. If you choose to now implement this policy, it would behoove the company or any other organization that wants to separate ties to apply this across the board against artists that are obviously currently playing and living, and those who are no longer with us as well. And I know for certain they are not going to remove some music from Michael Jackson and James Brown, which is what XXX team has listed in terms of allegations that were very similar to his own.
Exactly. It's definitely a slippery slope. And is the only reasoning because these are names that are in the news right now? I absolutely know that even though, James Brown isn't the talk of the town right now, or Michael Jackson isn't in the news right now, that people may or may not have been impacted by those actions and are dealing with that on a daily basis. So, and whether it happened 30 or 40 years ago or today, it still would be in violation of these beliefs or core beliefs that the company says that they're using to implement against.
Which is a new policy, by the way.
Right, a
Let's
new
be honest.
policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it boils down to money. I think they're looking at it, well, you know what? We're not going to lose a whole bunch of dollars if R. Kelly and XXX Tentacles is not uh, is not on here available for streaming. But yeah, I don't see how this plays out going forward. It's very picky choosy
Hmm.
and not across the board. I appreciate what they've done, but they need to do it the right way,
Right.
and not as a, oh, this could be a publicity point for us for today because everybody's talking about mute R. Kelly and we've done it. So now we're ahead of the game, but
Hmm.
now you've backed yourself in a corner and you're gonna have to play these cards right and make sure that you apply the rules across the board.
I get it. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of these artists have created tremendous value via their music. You know, an R. Kelly song that I love the most is, I Believe I Can Fly. Like, how many people across the world were inspired by that song? Now, his personal transgressions aside, like, I mean, yeah, I don't support that. I don't support the allegations that are against him at all. But do we know when these things were happening? Do we know, was he with some young girl in the studio while he was creating that record? We don't know, you know what I mean? And to that point, I think we should stay out of the personal lives of artists
Yeah.
as much as possible and leave that to the consumer. If the consumer doesn't want to personally support that person, then don't support them. You have every right to do so, but don't be picky and choosy as to what artists are going to be supported by your platform versus the others that aren't.
Right. Yeah, it's rough, and it's a topic we've touched on in a prior episode of Ungentrified on like, well, what's your cutoff point
Mm-hmm.
when you cancel somebody, and I mentioned for me it's at the point of the incident. So anything that happened before is still untainted to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some things like with R. Kelly I just can't listen to now, knowing the circumstances of those things, but it takes me a while to wean myself off of the untainted things. Anything after that, I don't have to listen to. And usually when people are caught up in some mess, their music is reflective of the mess. So the music automatically becomes less attractive to me as a listener. I don't know what it is, but
like poopity scoopity,
yeah.
Kanye.
Exactly. Like I was rolling off of Kanye off of the last album. I was kind of like, I got it. I didn't necessarily listen to it. If I heard it out somewhere, I knew what was playing, but I didn't really dig into it like I had the first three albums. So it was no problem for me to write that off and move forward. But there are songs that, especially for like Michael Jackson, that are key to like memories as a child. I wouldn't be able to just turn that off immediately. It would take some time, and I have no problem admitting that. Some people are like, I'm canceling. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
All right. And like the same people who be canceling be two-stepping when Step in the Name of Love comes
Absolutely.
on. I'm not. That's your personal choice. I walk off the floor, but don't act brand new. It's okay if you can't cancel somebody right away. But I know you guys are probably wondering who I'm talking to right now, and I'm going to let that person go ahead and introduce themselves. So go ahead and tell the people who you are.
I'm DJ B-Hen, champion of new sound, professional disc jockey, personality, and philanthropist based out of Los Angeles. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. I've been blessed to be a professional DJ going on 8 years now. I definitely never expected myself to be able to say that. And blessed to do a lot of great events across the country and slowly working my way into some international markets. And that's me.
He's being mad humble right now. Talking about slowly. He was just out in the South African streets earlier this year, killing them. But I'm incredibly excited to have B-Hen on with us. I think he has a dope musical mind. He and I have a lot of musical similarities, and I wanted to talk to him just about his transition into becoming, DJ B-Hen and what that looks like, and what his day-to-day looks like in his role. But before we get into that, I ask everybody that comes on the show what's on their radar, and it could be a new book you're reading, a new Netflix, binge you're on, something you read, a new song. What's on your radar at the moment?
Absolutely. Giants, the series, YouTube series by creator and actor and this amazing guy, James Bland.
Shout out to James.
Definitely shout out to James. FAMU graduate, HBCU love. I've seen this show grow from season 1 and jump into just even amazing and more production value in season 2. It holds a candle to a lot of things we see in media right now, Black media in particular, the Insecures and the Atlantas of the world and Queen Sugars, in terms of it just having a presence amongst the audience that it's serving. And it's obviously not serving just to Black people, but it's a coming of age story for young millennials, particularly who are just figuring out life, living out life in Los Angeles. And to see what he's been able to do on a shoestring budget and to create such value via the platform of YouTube. Obviously a lot of people are cutting the cord, and so much of the media that we consume is now on the Netflix and the Hulus and the YouTube. And the show, I knew it was amazing already, but it's been most recently recognized by an Emmy for a daytime Emmy nomination.
Yes.
And I'm just like, my gosh, like look at what you can do when you align yourself with purpose that is on your life, you know? And that was for season 1. So I'm already excited about what season 2 is going to do. Like I'm halfway through the season finale. And that's what I love about the online shows as well, that you don't have to be in tune with it at the moment, but that being because my travel schedule is crazy. Yeah. So I love it. If you haven't seen it yet, Giants, the series, check it out on YouTube ASAP.
I agree. And the second season is so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. There was a running joke with me and my boys for a while, like, "Yo, where's Journey? Where's Journey?" And the episode before the final, I haven't started the finale yet. So I've been holding on to it because I know it's gonna be a while before season 3 come back. You know, like when you know it's coming to an end and you want to enjoy it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it yet, but I know it's an hour, and I'm ready to get into it. And the people who I know who watched it said it was really good. So
and also Dear White People on Netflix, great series as well. I love series. I love the film. I love season 1, season 2. I recently DJ'd a party for the creator Justin Simeon, and I love knowing people when they were broke and to see their progression and how humble he still remains through everything he's been able to accomplish with this particular series. And, to know a few actors on the show, shout out to Ashley Blaine, and just to see how they're rising and blossoming as just such great people in their being of great people and create great art as well. And particularly in the time where we're just so much more aware of everybody's walking around woke, if you will, to have a series that really discuss what it's like to be African American or people of color and so many challenges we may experience, particularly in the college environment for some folks who have been traditionally white institutions or institutions where the populations are more Caucasian, to deal with those dynamics and really kind of change the perception that people have of African Americans people, period, particularly those who are seeking higher education. Like I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's another show where like it's really found its groove in the second season. I mean, the first season was amazing. I was a fan of the movie as well, but the second season is like they know they killing it, and it feels so much warmer in the sense that they fell into their characters a little bit more and they kill it. And I love Derica on that show. If you have not watched Dear White People, please stop what you're doing and do it and get into Derica Set Me Straight, which is the mini television show that happens within the show. It is hilarious. Like the
satire behind it, man, is just
it's bananas. Yeah. It's bananas. But yeah, they're doing great things. It's just, I feel like we're getting back to that time where there was just a lot of dope Black content happening. And if you so chose, you could watch nothing but Black media and be fulfilled. Yeah, so I'm hype. I watched the second season in a day. I chilled in the house for Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, word.
Because I was not trying to deal with it and just burned through that whole season that day.
And, and the cool thing about both of these platforms, or most of these platforms, are online. You can download the episodes to your device. So for me, that's very crucial. I can download and watch it on flight, watch it when I'm in transit somewhere. So that's what I love about it. Literally, it's on demand.
Cool. So let's go ahead and roll into the topic of discussion today, which is you and how you came to be DJ B-Hen. And you mentioned earlier that you've been doing this for 8 years. So take us back to the time before that 8 years. DJing wasn't your initial focus. So how did you get into
initial,
this?
secondary, or even tertiary focus? Like it was somewhere way buried somewhere. I've always had a knack for music. I've always been in love with music, but I didn't necessarily know what to do with it. I'm first generation college graduate. My dad eventually went to school through the GI Bill, through the military, but he set me on a way to go to school. And I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. If you know anything about Baltimore, it's definitely the hard knocks. Is definitely a tough environment to grow in. And so my dad enlisted himself in the military because he wanted to create a different reality for myself and my mom at the point, and then eventually my brothers when they came along. And so him and my mom both coming from impoverished environments, single parent households, their primary focus was education, and they didn't see how there could be a connection between your education and anything creative, period. So, I wanted turntables when I was 13. He took me all to pawn shops and we couldn't find any. He's just like, well, it doesn't matter because no son of mine is going to be a DJ.
No.
Like he cut it real short. I wanted to go to school of performing arts in Baltimore. I was like, that's what Jada went. That's what Tupac went. I wanted to be creative. Like, no, you're going to this college prep high school where we went to school. And even
did you go to City?
I went to City. Okay. I'm a City Knight, man.
Shout out to City. We found out before we started recording that we are both from Baltimore. So I didn't go to high school there, but I know plenty of people who did. My mom went to Poly.
Oh, right.
She was
it's our rival.
Yeah,
our rival.
She was the first female valedictorian of Poly. Yeah, because Poly used to be all male school.
All male school. Yeah, and then same thing. City used to be all male.
Mm-hmm.
These schools are old, from like the 1800s. So there's a lot of legacy there, a lot of history there. And there are only a few magnet schools in the city that are public. And so my parents were adamant about me attending because they felt that was going to set the best platform. And they were right. I ultimately decided to go to Morehouse, graduate from Morehouse. I was an economics major. And I did everything else, from spent a semester on Capitol Hill as a congressional page while I was still in high school, worked at MetLife interning, Goldman Sachs, record label, Sony, as well as Universal Music Group. And then I eventually, after college, landed at Verizon, where I was doing from call center to marketing to my final post in entertainment marketing and sponsorships. And my goal was to merge the business aspect of corporate America with something that was creative. And at the time, the company was rebranding itself as a broadband and entertainment company. Mm-hmm. So they were sponsoring tours from all types of artists, like even Akon and Kanye and Jonas Brothers, all these great artists, Taylor Swift at the time. And I thought that'd be cool. NASCAR, Lakers, just a lot of these great brands. And so I landed on a post on the West Coast where it was my job to leverage these relationships to drive more sales and of our products and services. And it was really cool, or at least I thought it was going to be, but I didn't like it. I was on a fast track to go to business school. I had done a summer program at Harvard Business School, done a 9-month program at UCLA Anderson School of Management. And I was very much on that path to go to business school. But the prospect of going to receive this amazing education at the next level and only to return back to the space where I was going to still not be happy with the corporate environment, it just didn't make sense. I was interested in MLT, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, and they kept talking about introspection, be very introspective, know what this process is all about. You learn about yourself in the process. Mm-hmm. I let the first deadline pass, second deadline pass. I'm like, I don't think I want to do this. My heart was pulling me into music. So what can I do to really create value for others within the music space? And for me, that was like, I could jump to music supervision, DJing, just something. But DJing was something I thought, I believe and still do, that gives me that instant reaction, Mm-hmm. And so I took a class at Scratch Academy. I'm a graduate of Scratch Academy, founded by Jam Master Jay. There are campuses in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta. We've expanded now. And took a 6-week course. And I told them I'm going to quit my job. They came back for my next 6-week course. And I said, I quit my job. And they said, you got to be crazy. You got to be shooting me. Like, you need to go back and ask for your job back. And I'm like, yeah, but no, I'm going to be a celebrity DJ. That's what I was saying at the time. They like, no, you don't understand how difficult this is. I said, well, you don't understand my attention.
Hey.
Or the power of attention.
That's how you shut people up.
Yeah. And that's how it came to be. Basically, not basically, but largely it was a huge spiritual path in terms of aligning with my unique gifts and straying away from naysayers and understanding that if your intention is to create value, no matter what space you're in, you'll be successful.
Yeah. And I think it's a hard lesson to learn that there will always be a job. There will
Always.
always be an opportunity. Like you, especially at that point in your life, like you have a degree. There are ways, you have connections to make things happen. And people, it's a scary thought to be like, you know what, I'm quitting. And a lot of people just don't have the fortitude or the strength to do it. And I don't fault them for it. It's rough. Like I said, we've talked about how when I quit my job and went full entrepreneur, it was 6 months after I was doubling up on both of them. I was still working.
Mm-hmm.
I was working for the school district here at the time. I was taking cases on the side. I would be on my lunch break. I would be walking up the street to the courtroom and handling the case or going to file papers and coming back like nothing happened. And then at night, working on Black and Abroad. And it was only until 6 months in when I was like, okay, I think I can do it. I'm leaving. And even then, I was scared as hell. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that I had put myself in a position where I could always find something. There are ways to make money, and it doesn't require it being on a 2-week kind of rotation thing. But it's a hard pill to swallow. When you said you just knew after your first 6-week course that it was time to roll. I mean, but just based off of what you told us, like you were gravitating towards anyway. You were putting yourself in these positions where you could be involved musically. So you were getting there. You were.
But still, I was scared like hell as well.
Yeah.
But it was all in what I learned is you change your mind, you change your life. I had to change the way I thought about my life and understanding that I could not really honor who I am as a person, as a man, by sitting and spending 10 and sometimes 12 hours a day doing something that I didn't like. Because that created a negative energy within myself that then permeated into my friendships, my romantic relationship, my family. Like I just kind of spewed that negative energy everywhere I went, and I wasn't even cognizant of it. But where did it start? It started with what I was spending the vast majority of my day doing. It's nothing against any of the corporations I work for. I listed some of those names because they were all great brands, but it wasn't for me. And I think that I was taking up room for the position for the person who needed or wanted to be there. I didn't want to be there.
Right.
And I knew that from the day I walked into each of those opportunities. But it was more so a process of elimination and really a growth in my spiritual front to understand that I'm here, like I said, to create value. You know what I mean? And so if in the finance course, the discussion on money comes up all the time. Every entrepreneur you'll have, and I have to emphasize that again, like this is a business. You know what I mean? Every entrepreneur you'll have those times when business is booming, and then when you go through a trough where things are kind of low, but understanding how to price yourself, understanding how to make genuine relationships, not like, what do you do? Don't ask me what I do. Ask me who I am. You know what I mean? Because it's the why of who you are that will open up the floodgates of opportunities to you, not just what you do. There are thousands of DJs.
Right.
There's hundreds of people doing any and everything that someone is doing, but it's the why you're doing it that will open up doors for you. You know what I mean? So I think just understanding and operate from that standpoint and not operate from the place of what is in it for me. When I have people on the dance floor, I'm blessed to be the DJ. The goal is to help that person or that group of people to relinquish whatever trouble they're going through. For me, music is the strongest form of touch. It's able to touch, move, and inspire people in a way that's stronger than any force on this planet. All things that try to separate us from politics and sex or sexual orientation or religion or race and creed and all these things, music destroys that, because music is that vibration that connects us all. And so the time I have you on the dance floor, that 3 to 4 hours or what have you, I want you to just be immersed in this experience and just really have a good time. And so I think that's when we focus, whatever your gift is, if you focus on creating value, I can't stress this enough, you'll be fine. The money will come.
Yes. I have this conversation all the time. We recorded an episode on like knowing the part you're supposed to play in, the worldwide community, the Black community, your respective family, like knowing your gift and using that gift to the best of their ability instead of trying to do everything for everybody. You know? Because if we all do what we're supposed to do instead of trying to do everything, we would get so quickly to the right path or wherever we're supposed to be if everybody just did their part.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a whole another
another episode.
That's another episode. But I mean, you listed those companies, and it was everything from White House to Wall Street. Are those kind of mindsets things that you apply to yourself as an entrepreneur today? Are those lessons still resonating?
Absolutely. I mean, the business acumen that I acquired in most of those environments has been fruitful in the terms of like your professionalism and your reputation precedes you. Your reputation is what people say about you before you even enter the room, let alone before you even get the opportunity to, provide your services. And so the simple things I think that have allowed for success, like timely responses to email, or how you structure your responses, or sending thank you cards, or the pleases and thank yous of the world, or coming dressed the part that's appropriate for that particular moment. All those things play a big factor. And so I learned all those things in these different environments prior to DJing. And I used to begrudge that moment when my dad didn't want to be a DJ at 13. But now I'm thankful for it, because some of my counterparts who've been DJing that long, they've been burnt out because there have been so many people who played them financially, or they've just done it for 25, 20 years or what have you. And, the business side of things will deter you from what you love sometimes, unfortunately, if it isn't managed properly.
So how did you know? What was the moment when you were like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know you came in and was like, I'm quitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm out. But what was like the light switch moment for you to be like, okay, this is it?
Well, the funny thing about it, there's several light switch moments. We just ignore them. We ignore all the signs. When we were preparing for a potential strike of the folks who install phone services, they made the folks on the management side, which I was on, to learn how to install phone lines and crawl under buildings and put a ladder on your shoulder and wear a hard hat and climb a pole and all. I should have known then, like, there's nothing wrong with this, but this isn't for me. But I ignored that. But what really brought me into my own in this space is I started practicing Buddhism. And I'd always been interested in it from seeing What's Love Got to Do with It as a kid, seeing how Tina Turner was able to transcend her aggressor, being her husband, Ike, and she accepted responsibility. Responsibility doesn't mean I'm accepting fault or blame or shame. It simply means that I am able to choose a creative response to the circumstances. And in choosing a creative response, you take ownership of the circumstances in the sense that, like, I am creating this. I'm choosing to be here. I learned that by practicing Buddhism, and it took a while. I had a chance meeting with Herbie Hancock, amazing Grammy Award winning musician. Right. He was chanting at the Buddhist Center in Los Angeles, and I asked him, like, in your day and age, like, how did you become a musician? And the long story short, he said, every musician takes lessons. And if you're serious about this, you will be the cause of the effect that you want in your life. He said, from Quincy Jones to Beyonce, they take lessons up until this day. And that's when I went and signed up for the Scratch Academy. And then one time I got into it with my manager, and she was being overwhelmingly difficult. And I said, you know what? It's not you. It's me. I don't belong here. So I put those 2 weeks in and let it go.
I can't imagine her face when you said that to her. Like, it's me.
It's me. Even though she's being a choice, she was being a choice word or another. But when someone is acting a certain way towards you, you're choosing to allow that. And this was something that was consistent, and more power to her. I'm not where she is in life, but I'm thankful for her, because she amongst so many other circumstances was a catalyst by which I was able to jump into this space.
Got you. So you mentioned earlier about some people who have been in this game for a while feeling burnt out. How do you continue to make sure that you continue to love what you do?
I keep myself surrounded by people who also love what they do, because sometimes we can share some of our challenges, but we all will be optimistic enough by having gone through similar challenges to encourage each other. I have a village and tribe of folks who are, entrepreneurs first and creatives sometimes seconds, from photographers to stylists to video producers, to my best friend. She's a caterer, you know what I mean? And we laugh all the time, like, girl, you about to be a millionaire slanging mac and cheese and collard greens, you know what I mean? Because she specializes in Creole cuisine out in Los Angeles, and she's one of my rocks. She gives me so much advice, and she actually started entrepreneurship after me, you know what I mean? But she's done so phenomenally well. And so, I take those days where I go give Brian a spa day, tune into, put B-Hen on the back burner and tune into Brian. And B-Hen is simply short for Brian Henry, my government, the nickname I got in college, because a few Bryans were hanging out with each other, and they got tired of figuring out which one was which. But it's all about just tuning within. I'm working to get more into meditation. My mind runs like crazy, but starting the day before I jump on social media and figure out what the rest of the world is doing, I realize I have to tune into, what God and the universe is pushing and pulling on me to do, and listen to that inner voice. And in listening to that inner voice, I'm able to better navigate and not be burnt out.
Right. Kanye in that moment of craziness on Twitter did say a very valid point about like not looking at your phone immediately when you wake up.
It's a real thing, because you give the opportunity for the whole world to have access to you before you tune into yourself.
Right. And then especially in this day and age, you have allowed the world to dictate your day.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes you wake up and you're like, man, what the hell is going on now? And it completely changes your mood for the day. I'm trying to get better about it, and picking up whatever I'm reading at the moment instead of picking up my phone. But
it's a struggle for all of us. Trust me, especially with the variations of hours that I keep. Sometimes I may get up later in the day and I feel like I'm behind. People live on the West Coast, like what's going on in New York? Damn, they 3 hours ahead, and I'm 3 hours getting up late. Like I'm, but I have to tame myself and like whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and me knowing about it in this moment won't make a difference. But me tuning into the person I'm called to be is of far greater value, because I can't create value for anyone else if I'm not first doing it with them.
Yeah, it's something I talk about a lot with people, because for Black and Abroad, I travel a lot, and people are like, oh, that must be great, that must be fantastic. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a drain. And a lot of times I'm traveling for work. Everybody thinks that it's always a vacation. It's not.
Because for their lives, it is a vacation.
Right. For their lives, it is a vacation. But sometimes I'm there, working on a project, having meetings, in and out of things. And I could be in the most gorgeous of locales and not get to enjoy it the way I would want to. So I have to do things like, okay, I'm taking a trip and it ain't got nothing to do with Black and Abroad. Or if it does, I choose to allow that to be a part of the trip. Because if Black and Abroad read everything, I would hate traveling, And there are times where I'm not home for weeks, or I'm in for a day and I gotta wash clothes and be out and try to handle things. So I enjoy being at home, like chilling in Atlanta for the time being, and being shocked, well, having people be shocked when they see me, because they always assume that I'm gone. But rolling through a season on Netflix in my bed, like these are the things that make me continue to love what I do for Black and Abroad.
You gotta take a step back from every now.
Right. And I think people get caught up in the kinds of work that we do, because it is fun.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot that goes into making it look fun or be fun. But since we're talking about like things that are fun in those kinds of moments, what has been your favorite gig to date?
There's been a host of favorite gigs, and I think it was interesting that people gravitate sometimes. I mean, they gravitate toward experiencing me DJing, but also who I've been blessed to DJ for. From Shonda Rhimes and the Scandal Crew to Chance the Rapper, Jussie Smollett, Pharrell. Some of my favorite dignitaries in the world. But, one of the things I'm most proud of is being able to DJ on Good Morning America. That was a big goal of mine. I've become a recurring DJ there. But also what I've learned is that, the private events, they're cool, and I love, I've been blessed to, that was my goal at a certain point, to be a celebrity DJ. But I think the most value I'm able to create is really in being in environments where everyone is welcome. That's why I do my event, B-Hen Block Party on an annual basis. We've got upwards of 1,100 people in Los Angeles that we welcome out on an annual basis, because it's about, I don't care, you're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, straight, gay, LGBT plus community, what your race, I don't care about all that. I want us to all get together and dance. And what I've learned is that the more people who attend the event, it's more enthusiasm and more excitement. I had an opportunity to DJ the Delta Sigma Theta Centennial Step Show a few years ago, and it was 17,000 screaming women at the Verizon Center in DC. And that's one of my favorite gigs, because I was nervous like crazy. But the moment I got on that stage, it all dissipated, because there's so much love in that environment. And so as I progress, it's great to have an attachment to some of those name brands and some of those your favorite artists and, people across the world. But, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. And I desire to be in environments where more people can hear the music.
I hear that. So you spoke about being a celebrity DJ, and even though that's not necessarily your space anymore, there is still very much a part of what you do that is personal branding. So how does that look for B-Hen the brand, since you are at hand for all of these things?
Everything from the invoice to the initial conversation to the tech writer to the calling up the folks and saying, okay, we need this equipment on site. Well, nope, this mixer will not do, you know. One thing somebody told me, Beyonce said that, you know, at a certain point in her career where she transitioned from being polite, she said polite wasn't getting her anywhere. And it's a fine line between being polite and rude. I'm from Baltimore, so I know how to be rude, but that also doesn't get you anywhere. But what it looks like, it looks like me being at the forefront of every aspect of the business. And there does come a point where I do desire to have management. You know, I'm exploring that option currently. But like I said, in going on 8 years, I've had some assistants, but not anyone to ever manage me. And it has its challenging moments. You know, you have to wear multiple hats. But to that point, that business acumen coming into it from corporate space is what allows me to do it. And I've often learned that people want to communicate directly with me. I've had challenges in the past where I thought that because they want to communicate directly with me, I need to be the nice guy. I can still be nice, but still, this is my rate.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you know, when the budget does become available, by all means, I'm not going to stop DJing anytime soon. Feel free to give me a call. There's different ranges for different events. It just depends on what's going on, you know. But the money thing, particularly, I think Black people, we sometimes have a challenge with talking about money or asking for what we're worth.
Yeah. We are afraid. We will acknowledge all day that we are the source of creativity and that we are great at so many things. But when it comes down to it, we are afraid to ask for what we're worth. It blows my mind. I was on a panel 2 years ago, and it was Ryan Wilson, who owns the Gathering Spot. He made a very salient point, and it stuck with me to this day. He was like, you know, when our white counterparts go into meetings or throw their rate, they have no worries about somebody saying, oh, well, we can't afford that, or we're so afraid that we won't get the gig that we will take whatever it is, or we'll be like, oh, well, you know what, somebody's going to think that I'm not worth that, and undercut ourselves before we even gave somebody the opportunity. Because a lot of times, especially once you really, you know, find your wave in your craft, people will be like, okay, all right, you'd be surprised.
Absolutely.
There are times where I'm throwing out numbers and I'm like, okay, this is 3 times what I would have asked. And someone's like, okay, let's roll. You know, let's do it. And I think it happens when the companies that have the money already know why they've contacted you. So they've already put that money aside. It's the ones that ain't got the dollars who be like, you know, can we talk about it? But you can't be that company for yourself. You have to be, you know, knowledgeable of what you're worth. And
Absolutely.
Then
if you settle for less than what you deserve, you'll always wind up with less than what you settle for.
Yeah, that's a lesson I had to learn. It's like, you know what, I'm not gonna lose out if they can't afford me. You know, because I don't want to get into a space where I'm doing this work and I'm like, man, you know, I could have had another gig or I could have been doing something else. And
I think it's also important to highlight making sure your pricing is commensurate with the value. One of the biggest lessons that, shout out to DJ D Nice, big bro, been doing this thing in this game. It's funny. He jokes now saying his career as a DJ has been far more successful and longer than his career as a rapper. You know what I mean? But he used that platform to leverage where he is today. He was the first person teaching me, like, you know, because he was introducing. He had given a gig to me, and he asked me what my rate, and I told him my hourly rate. He laughed. He was just like, "No, bro." He said, "No, you don't charge anyone based on an hour. You charge someone based on what value you bring to the experience or to the opportunity. Not like I charge this per hour. No, you know what I mean. Unless you want to be a blue collar worker, which is completely fine. If you really want to create wealth, you don't operate from that standpoint,
right?
And so that was a game changer. It was a big game changer. But to that point, making sure it's commensurate with what you've done and what value you've created prior up until this point. You know, making sure that your resume is solid. Make sure you have examples of your work. Make sure that reputation I spoke of earlier, that it precedes you before you walk into the room, so people know what they're getting into. You know what I mean? And you can build a greater sense of confidence in yourself from that by being just one with your craft. You know, so it's not you're not just arbitrarily pulling a number out the sky. It's commensurate with the experience you're bringing to the table.
So Tell us one thing that people have no idea or are usually wrong about what you do. What is a misconception that you hear a lot about the industry or the work that you do?
And I'm having sex with everybody. Man, I'm so chill with that. I mean, I'm propositioned all the time, girls and guys. It's just like, well, you know what I mean? Like, the thing is like, because music is such it's such an emotional and immersive thing that, you thought I looked at you across the room, and I was looking at the room and locked eyes with you just because I want to make sure you were feeling this music. Right. It is my passion, but it's also work. And I do my best to separate those things. And so that's a misconception of, I think, the whole DJ culture. Some of my counterparts, we all have fun. You know what I mean? Let's not get it twisted. But that's a big misconception. But also, I mean, music is sensual. So naturally it arises, the sexual aspect of you. I think a business also one thing that people don't know, I'm very chill. It's like B-Hen is the performer and then Brian is just chilling. So when I go on trips and vacation, people are like, turn up. Like they think I'm gonna be out there what, like dancing all the time. I'm like, I'm actually on this trip to chill, because that is my profession, to make sure everyone else is having a good time. Now, in this moment, I want other people to lead the show, and I have a good time just by not directing this whole moment,
Yeah. So what is it like to go out and have your job be a DJ, but you not be the DJ? When you're chilling and you go to the club, or do you even go out like to the club?
I had a break about 2 weeks ago, and I went out for 5 days in a row, and every night, yo, you spinning? What time's your set? You getting on? Da-da-da. No. And they looked at me a little strange, like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, well, I'm a fan first. I have to go out and actually also be inspired and also have a good time, and also then, like I said, let my locks down, if you will, and dance at a party or have a good time, and let someone else to direct the show. And then or the thing that I despise the most, man, this DJ, man. What do you think about this DJ? That last transition, everybody thinks they are the DJ. Like they're Cisco and Ebert or something of DJs, and they think that I want to engage in conversation about what they perceive another DJ is doing wrong. And I'm like, I'm not here to critique the other DJ. If you're DJing, or if you're DJing for another DJ, or if you're in any space in which you are thinking the services you're providing are for other people in the space, then that's a complete nah, don't do it, because you're missing the opportunity to really serve the people. Other people within your space are always going to have a critique, or the way they would have done it better. But the reason why they will hire me versus a D-Nice, versus a MoMA, versus a Diplo, K-Tronada, Sango, a lot of people that I admire, is all different. So what we bring to these to the turntables is also completely different. And I think it all should be respected as such.
I think I'm about to be the person you were just talking about. I think there's a science to effectively engaging, knowing what kind of crowd you're dealing with, and then building upon their anticipation of what's coming next, or surprising them. And I mean, I halfway play DJ, but I know enough to pick up. Okay, I know my BPMs. I know my breaks. I know how to scratch. I know enough.
All right.
But I mean,
DJ Kente Clough.
Ask a couple of my friends. I done did some stuff, but I'm mad you said Kente Clough.
Just saying.
I'm gonna write that down. But I do appreciate like a DJ who is dope in their own right and knows what style they are. Because there are some parties you go to and you're like, oh, this is just the standard brunch set. Like we about to hear BBD's Poison. We about to hear Before I Let Go. And it's like, I can't. It drives me crazy. Because of DJs. And not all DJs, but because of like just your up and comings and your new ones who haven't really figured out, who are just going off of what they know will work in the crowd, not necessarily what they like. I hate BBD's Poison now. Every time I hear it, I can't.
How you think I feel about it?
Right. And that brings me to that's a perfect segue to my next question. Like, what do you do when there's a song that everybody loves and you hate? you play it
Mm.
because you know that the crowd will respond to it,
Mhm.
or are you like, no, I'm not fucking with it. I'm not paying it.
I'm definitely the latter. Nah, I'm not fucking with it. I'm not, because, and it's one of the reasons historically, and I believe that's going to change here very shortly, why I gravitate more toward private events rather than nightclubs, because I've had instances in which some of my counterparts, you know, you're at a club and they're rocking it, and somebody comes and drops 10 racks on bottles, and the promoter will say, well, I need you to play Young Thug, Drake, and I don't know, Nicki Minaj back to back for the next hour. I only want to hear those 3 artists because the guy who came in here dropped these racks on bottles. That's what that person wants to hear. And that's not DJing, that's pacifying the audience. And our job is to educate, entertain, and really move the crowd. And if you stick to only a certain few songs, you're not effectively doing your job, and you become replaceable, if you will. I fall into that gap of playing of crowd pleasing, solely crowd pleasing, but you lose your interest in it because I know what reaction I'm gonna give if I play Poison or Blow the Whistle or any number of the Drake hits. But the real, get you gotcha is if you play that track and you flip it in the form of a remix or a deep cut, or you play that Seaside album on that Kelly Price CD, and you be like, Kelly Price. No shade to Kelly Price. But I say that in the sense that this is one song on Kelly Price album. Come on, keep moving, hey, and you don't stop. I love that song because it's so influential from Michael Jackson. It's like 117 BPMs. It wasn't one of her singles, but I'll drop that in one of my mixes just because I love the song. And I think you don't know it, and I think you should know it. And I don't know how many albums ago it was or what year it came out, but I love that track. And so the goal is for us to make sure that we're putting on things and playing things that we love. And I think that's how you you create your unique voice. And no matter what space you're in, you're doing it in the way that you best see fit. And that allows the audiences that support you to gravitate towards you, and those who don't. If you only want to hear top 40, call somebody else,
Yeah, I think all of the DJs that I love and admire, I feel like they educate me in some way. Like I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that either. I haven't heard him forever. I haven't heard it that way, or I'm pulling out my phone to Shazam to find out what song that is. Because like I think of like Jazzy Jeff. He kills it with like flips and blends.
He's amazing.
Him and Mick. Who else? K Tronada, I love how he flips stuff. Black Coffee, when he does stuff, he kills it. Mayor Hawthorne, when he DJs and he's pulling out like these random 80s and 70s like deep funk kind of stuff, like the stuff that I appreciate far more now. Like even B Cox was DJing this weekend, and I saw a little bit of it on IG stories, and he played this song. And I heard the bass line. I was like, "Yo!" So whenever I follow a lot of DJs, and whenever they play stuff on Instagram stories, I'll go and get my iPad and pull up Shazam on there and be playing like my phone near it, trying to figure out what it is, just to add it to my collection. So if I'm hearing everything I could hear, if I put on, like I said, top 40 on the radio, that's not going to engage me. Yeah, it's not going to take people to that level of kind of euphoria.
Yeah, and then the fact that we have so many platforms by which you can share music, that's why you see more artists no longer gravitating toward the major record label system as they once did, because you can release music and it serves the people it serves. You don't, in order to be successful, you don't have to have this quote unquote mainstream success. People, I know I'm dope. I'm gonna put this project out and allow the word of mouth, which is still the best way to market who you are, to run its course and serve you. You know what I mean? Support you, rather.
So you named a couple of the people who inspire you. Who musically, like, who's somebody who's always present in like your thought processes behind a set, or like whose music are you always trying to incorporate? Who inspires you?
Sure. Janet Jackson. No matter what, Janet is always in my set at one point or another. Hey Tronada, tracks from Diplo, Quincy Jones, I know Comida. Like, clearly my musical inclination does not lie in the space of singing. However, Sango, Sango is largely inspired by Brazilian music from the Brazilian favelas, if you will. Like Brazilian trap. I'm like, what is that? And he's from the States. He's from like Seattle, went to school in like Western Michigan, but so much of his music is inspired by Brazil, There's a dope artist named Troy Boy out of the UK who I love a lot. I love a lot of UK radio. Like when I'm digging through the crates and working to put something different into my sets, to me, UK, particularly London and that whole country, actually, is because it's a smaller country, obviously, than the States. And so I think it's a greater melting pot of different cultures, and they have a greater appreciation for different cultures in comparison to the States, where I think we're growing more into that right now. But a lot of the clubs are like, oh, this is an EDM club, this is a trap club, this is a country's party. This is it. We're so much more segmented, whereas them, they just gravitate towards so many genres. So I listen to Radio 1, BBC Extra, Mr. Jam, and he plays like a wide range of music, and I'm able to pull into that. And I think all things R&B and soul, for me personally, I love what the UK artists are doing. The Jordan Smith and Sinead Harnett's and the MNEKs of that community, like even Disclosure. Like I love what they're doing. You know what I mean? And so I'm interested to see how in the States we gravitate toward that. And then obviously when I travel, I pick up different music and sounds. Like I'm heavier into Afro beats after this trip to South Africa.
Then I think I don't know if you ever listened to it, but I sent you who was it? It was an album, and I still bump it hard to this day. It is he's on Black Coffee's label, and of course it's slipping my mind right now. Indigo Child is the name of the album, but if you haven't listened to it, I'm gonna force you to listen to it.
I'm taking notes
before we leave today.
See, I also like being put on, so thank you.
But yeah, I'm the same way. I think everybody else in the world has an appreciation for R&B that we have lost.
But it's at the essence of all things. Even EDM, like it's house music. Yeah. Frankie Knuckles, Larry Levan, they were the forefront of this. And I want my people more than anything else to be able to capitalize on our creativity. Yeah. Our cool. We are cool. You know what I mean? Like that just is what it is. And it's because we came from such marginalized, backgrounds that we had to figure out different and unique ways to feel valuable within our own selves, you know what I mean? And so that's what permeates into all things that we do. That's why we're so creative. That's why, I'm not messing with no chitlins, but that's why you had chitlins. We had to get creative with the scraps that we have. And I think we do that in all areas, and the whole world overlooks at us for all things that are creative. I just want us to be able to really just capitalize on what is ours.
And on that note, we're going to take a brief break, but we'll be right back to wrap up this episode of UNGENTRIFIED after a word from one of our sponsors. This episode of UNGENTRIFIED is brought to you by Black and Abroad. Black and Abroad is an online travel community dedicated to inspiring and celebrating the experiences of Black travelers and expats. Interested in traveling with a hand-picked group of individuals just like you? Check out Black and Abroad's curated travel experiences in destinations worldwide. Upcoming trips include Cartagena in June and Johannesburg in December for Afropunk. You can find out more about Black and Abroad and its upcoming journeys by visiting weareblackandabroad.com. So we've talked about we talked about earlier in this episode cancel culture and how the public reacts to music. So what happens for you as a DJ when the public mood has shifted on an artist? And it may be an artist that you love. You mentioned earlier that you're of the thought process of, as long as I like it, it's getting played. So how does that impact your decision making process?
I'm not gonna stop playing Kanye, and people may feel a way about that. Do I support all of his views? No. I think he has a message behind what he's saying. I think his delivery is completely off. But I oftentimes know that sometimes the most intelligent person in the room, if you speak out of turn, you sound like a fool. He sounds like a fool because he's not able to deliver his messaging in a way that people can understand. Is slavery a choice? Hell no, slavery was not a choice. I think what he was trying to say is that you cannot oppress someone unless they feel oppressed. And I think he's trying to apply that to current age. The things that happened to our ancestors for 400 years, by all means, was not a choice. And I don't condone what he said. It's more so like, I think what he's trying to do is to allow free thought and allow people to be independent and critical thinkers. It's just unfortunately his way of going about it in terms of sensationalizing things or, aligning with Trump, who completely has complete disregard for all people of color. it's just the wrong way of going about it.
Mhm.
If your thought process is that I don't want anyone to be oppressed, and I want you to be free thinkers, and I want you, like I said, meditate and tune into who you are, and to be able to express it creatively, express yourself, then by all means. But it's just the delivery and who he's decided to line himself up with that unfortunately has put such a bad taste, and some of the things in the context of which you said, to put such a bad taste in people's mouth. But I'm not going to act like 808 and Heartbeats did not. I'm not going to act like, college dropout and graduation, all those things didn't create tremendous value for so many people. Just because, the Kardashian effect has got a hold of him doesn't mean that, years prior that he was conscious of the value he was creating. I think he's just out of touch a bit, and he wants desperately to he I don't even know how to say it because it's so it's so out there right now. And his art that he's created is timeless, and just because it's at a point where we no longer agree with how he's delivering his message and some of the people he's aligned with, I think we have to just reassess. Like, let's not forget the old Kanye.
Right. And we can capsulize him into that, and whatever happens going forward is whatever happens. But and like I said, that's how I look at it. I can cut him off at this point and be like, you know what, college dropout, graduation, all of those, those hold significant moments for me. I'm assuming and hoping that he was of a different mindset at that time, so I can appreciate that for what it was.
Absolutely.
His music may not speak to me now because I'm in a different mindset, and so is he, and that's okay. I don't need to rock with him in that regard. But it's just such a touchy subject for people.
But I know some people are not gonna like what I said about it, but that's what allows me to be an independent thinker as well, and we do have that right, particularly in this nation.
Yeah, and it's very rarely that we get to hear from a perspective of people whose jobs are incorporated in that, like, because if somebody's like, you know what, we're canceling such and such today, but you're like, but they Jones rock. Like,
my thing is, like, where's the level of compassion for these artists, particularly like Kanye? We know it doesn't take a genius to look at Kanye and understand there are some mental health challenges he's experiencing right now. You know what I mean? So, he's cool when he's a man and he's rising to the top and he's creating these hits, but now he's in a challenging state of his life, and we want to abandon him because he's made a few comments. Like, his value and the things that he's created are so far outweigh the few comments that he's made in the last few weeks. And like, nah, that's not cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier and so humbly telling us about yourself that you do some nonprofit work as well. Tell us about the work you've been doing recently.
Sure. I found an organization back in 2014 called Beats to Beat Breast Cancer. It's obviously a play on words. As a DJ, and I'm using my beat, but I'm also encouraging other people, no matter what field you're in, whether you're a veterinarian or a lawyer, or you work at McDonald's. I don't care what your particular beat is, but your beat is something that you're passionate about, something that you do. Let's aggregate and collect our respective beats and use our beats and open those pocketbooks and wallets to help beat breast cancer. It's a cause that's near and dear to me. I've lost my mother, Tracy, when she was only 35, to a 14-month battle with breast cancer. My godmother, Linda, always used to thank my mom for saving her life because she went to get a mammogram when my mother was going through chemotherapy, and she found out she was stage 1.
Wow.
So they were both going through chemotherapy at the same time, and unfortunately, my mom lost her battle to breast cancer. But 14 years later, my godmother, Linda, also lost her battle to breast cancer-related complications. And I've lost two very obviously the most important women in my life. When your mother ordains a woman to be your godmother, that person is there to care for you in the case that something may happen to her. But to lose both of them from the same disease, I can't stand idly while particularly women of color are dying at a disproportionately higher rate than other women. And there's so many aspects of it, from disparities in healthcare to lack of awareness to diet and regimens and different environmental factors that adversely affect communities of color. And so I'd like to use my platform and encourage others, particularly in entertainment where there's frivolous spending all the time, to take our funds and take our money and our beats, if you will, and put it towards something that counts. And I saw a lot of organizations, particularly in the time frame when my mother was battling cancer in the early 2000s, where they're raising loads of funds, and those funds were not trickling down to communities of color.
Right.
Some of these large organizations are doing a better job now, but I still want to make sure that I'm doing my part to raise funds and drive awareness, particularly for Black women, to get your mammogram and do so on an annual basis, and to be able to call home to your mom, your aunt, your granny, anybody who is a woman in your life, to say, hey, I go with you, get a mammogram. Are you doing it? What's your diet looking like? Like, what can we do to maybe eat less meat that's so processed like crazy in this country, to do more plant-based things, and it's been a healing process for me. There was a large point of time where I ran away and I couldn't effectively deal with publicly talking about my mother's death. But my mom always encouraged me to be a leader. You know what I mean? She's actually the first person that instilled music in me. And that's one of the reasons I became a DJ, because, to lose my mom when only being 35, I realized how short life is. And it's a certain sanctity of life that I like to honor and respect. And if there's gifts that are within me, I want to leave this world empty. By the time it's my day to go, I want to make sure that I have given all that I have, because to me, that's what love is. Love is the only thing that's real. And to love simply means to give to yourself and to give to others. And I would like to take the tragedy that my family has experienced and my God siblings have experienced, to ensure that we lose less, far, far, far less, and ideally no women to this disease.
And that is your work. That is the work you're supposed to do. That's the purpose that you have, that you've been given to impact and affect change in the community. And I appreciate you for that. And being open enough to tell your story and the why, like you said earlier, like the why behind it. So where can people find out about Beats to Beat?
Sure. On our website, beats2beatbreastcancer.com. These are all, you spell it out regular, clean English. There's no numbers in there. And we do an annual series in October of every year. And so if you work for a major corporation that does matching of funds, or if you are even just remotely interested, we want to hear from you. We want you to reach out to us on the website and understand what we can do to partner our collective resources to make a difference, And we've previously done events, and obviously in Los Angeles and DC and New York. We look forward to expanding to other markets, because it's not just these key markets that women are passing from the disease. It's across the board, I could talk on and on about this for days, but it's work that needs to be done. Sometimes people are confused as to why a Black man is championing this cause, because Black women are the number one nurturers and givers, and they take care of everyone else. Boo boo, Ray Ray, mama, their husbands, their daddies, their kids, their sons, their daughters. They take care of everyone first and put themselves last. And Beats to Beat Breast Cancer represents an opportunity for us to flip the script, turn the mirror to the women and who we love in our life, and actually put them first.
Agreed. So, Brian B-Hen, tell the folks where they can find you in the internets. Where can they find you?
On the internets, you cannot find me on Twitter. No, I'm just playing, because Black Twitter is vicious. No, I don't tweet a lot, but you can definitely find me on the gram at DJ B-Hen. And drop me a DM. Just say what up. I do respond to most of everything when I can. And I also share what I'm doing on there. So I hop around. Like, even in the next few weeks, I have gigs in New York tomorrow. I'm doing the BET. Well, by the time this airs, you already know about it. But I'll be DJing the BET Awards nominations event in New York.
Dope.
We're announcing 8 categories for the 2018 BET Awards, and then I will subsequently follow up and be doing more events around the award show in LA this year. Everything I'm doing, I'm posting on social media. But yeah, the next few weeks I'm in DC, Cancun, New York, here in Atlanta, like just hopping all over the place. And so I'd love to see you out. Check it out at DJ B-Hen.
Good stuff. Thank you for spending some time with me today to talk about how you became B-Hen, the DJ, the international DJ. He won't claim it. I'm claiming it for him. Internationally known champion of sound, DJ B-Hen. Thank you for coming out. You guys are going to miss out unless you are a subscriber to our mailing list, but we're going to play a little game of iPod Shuffle and see who can put who on to some new music. I already got stuff lined up, but I know he's about to put me on to some stuff. But you can hear that bonus episode if you are a member of the mailing list. Of course, you can find out more about Ungentrified by visiting our website, ungentrifiedpodcast.com. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, your mother's community church board. Ungentrified Pod is the username. Of course, you can hit me up, your host, at Kent, KENT_ESQ on both Instagram and Twitter. You can also email us any comments or questions you have at ungentrified@kentwjohnson.com. I appreciate you listening. Brian, I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, it was a great conversation, and we'll check you guys next time. Peace.